Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. We're very happy to have you here for our webinar today with the Oxys and the Uipath team. So welcome Eduardo, Guillermo, Jose, thank you for being here. As you know, we're gonna be touching on a very interesting topic today. We know that a lot of you are already a Uipath customer or in the process of evaluating the value of RPA and the Uipath technology for your organization. And the purpose of today is really having a real world discussion on how much are you really maximizing the value of the platform. And so that's why we brought our experts today. Feel free to, as we go through the discussion, leave your questions in the question panel or through the chat, and we will make sure to address your questions throughout the session or at the end of the session. We want to make it as interactive as possible, and we always love your participation. I will also be facilitating some polling questions as we go through the materials, and sharing with you the live results of the polling questions from the audience. So with that, I'm going to give it to Eduardo, the head of our Intelligent Automation practice at Oxys, that will be facilitating the panel today. Welcome, Eddie.
Thank you so much, Fabi, and thanks everybody for joining. Thanks, Jose and Guillermo for being part of this panel. We're going to be discussing, this great topic about Uipath, hyperautomation platform. There's been a lot of changes in the past 2 years around the platform, and I think it's a great topic for people who have started their journey on automation to really understand what else could they potentially be doing if they're only focusing on only pieces of the platform, like we're seeing most organizations doing. So with that said, we just wanted to ground a little bit of this webinar series and how we've been discussing about, the key elements of being, successful in your automation program and your journey, talking about, having the right vision and governance and processes, having, the right talent in order and the skills to be able to deliver some of the solutions to your organization, but also, having the right technology partner and being able to really expand just beyond, simple automations and simple use cases onto more complex automations that can drive a lot of benefit for your program and your company. So as we discussed, in our previous webinars, choosing the right technology partner is key, right? We've gone through this whole journey of maturity within, proving that the technology works, to establishing, the program through, proving the value and making sure that you are being able to master post-implementation support as we talked in the previous webinars, and then really making sure that they're reliable through test automation like we had in some of our previous sessions, then going through proving the ROI and managing the benefits of your program, and then democratizing RPA through citizen developer programs and other solutions. But now let's just talk about how the platform can actually help you do these things from the product suite that they basically created. And through our discussion today, we just wanted to go through market adoption and some of the things that we're seeing on the marketplace, going through the journey of the platform, how it has evolved over time, talking about some of the practical insights on how organizations are moving through the platform, and then also some of the key changes that we're seeing on how to deploy the platform. Previously, it was a pure on-premise solution, some cloud functionality, but that has really changed in the past 2 years dramatically. So we wanted to touch a little bit of that on your strategy around how to deploy the platform to make it easier, faster to consume, lower your cost of ownership of your platform, and also be able to really scale and provide the stability and reliability that you're looking for. And then talk a little bit about some of the overlooked Uipath products that most people are shying away from, but can really drive enormous value to your organization. And then at the end, let's talk about some of the lessons learned that we've seen from some of the implementations and journeys from some of our customers. So if we look at the RPA market, it's just incredible, the level of growth. It continues to be, since 2018, continues to be the faster growing enterprise software. It's expected to get to $9 billion in software sales by 2025, and the user base of RPA developers to get to 21 million, which is a massive change from what we've been seeing even prior to the pandemic to where I think it's going. And we're seeing that across all organizations. As you can see here, 76% of webinar respondents are already UiPath customers, which is a major change to what it was, or in the process of evaluating is massive. And then we see, that 91% of developers think that their organizations are going to be looking to hire even more developers than what they have today in the next 12 months. But that said, most organizations are only focusing on unattended solutions today, with a minimal, maybe venturing a little bit outside of that. But I would say that 95% of the efforts that are coming into these automation programs are laid out onto the traditional RPA solutions. And we just wanted to bring some perspective on other things that I think can really be great for your teams. So if we look at the platform and we look at, where did it started? Most people, here's where they begin, right? Their studio family, orchestration of their automations, unattended robots and attended robots. But as you can see, there was some change on 2019 with the introduction of Automation Hub and Document Understanding, which, by the way, have changed dramatically since the day they were launched, onto a massive change through the pandemic with the addition of a bunch of new functionality on 2020 that really changed UiPath and really made it the leader that it is today. Not just being able to deliver on the unattended, attended solutions, but really being able to really drive the story of hyperautomation through organizations, and now more recently with integration services being part of it. But as you can see, most people, their journey are 2 to 3 years in their automation programs, and maybe 4 or 5 for the ones who have been at this for a long time. And so the platform that they started with is not necessarily what it is today. And for just having so much pipeline on what they know, a lot of organizations are not looking to the sides. They're just looking straight on what they know how to do. And this is one of the conversations that we wanted to have today. What else can you actually do? So before we get started, I just wanted to poll, the audience to understand, what are you guys leveraging from the UiPath platform? Are you guys also using Automation Hub and Task Capture, Insights, Document Understanding, AI Center, Test Suite, Process Mining? So I just wanted to click all the ones that you guys are using today, so that we can see what's the level of adoption that we have on the audience. Just give it a minute to that.
Great, Eddie. I have opened the polling question and people are already responding. So I have around 25% of the votes, and I will share in a couple of seconds.
So while that's happening, I just wanted to give some time to introduce the panelists for today. Jose Gonzalez, who is the RPA, service lead for the RPA professional services at UiPath. Jose, would you mind giving us a little bit of an intro?
Sure. Thanks, Eddie. So my name is Jose Gonzalez. I've been at UiPath for a little bit over 3.5 years now. And my journey at UiPath has come up from the development path. So I was an RPA developer when I first started, became a team lead, and now I kind of oversee the professional services projects and implementations that we have out of Latin America. And in that role, I've interacted with a lot of clients, interacted with a lot of organizations, and what we're talking about here is experiences that I have in the interaction that I have with clients and organizations all the time.
Thanks, Jose. I think that you're naturally, as being part of UiPath Professional Services, your point of view around, you're basically head of the spear when it comes down to bringing in this new, innovative, new technologies onto organizations. Most people who are trying to venture outside of their zone of comfort are looking to make sure that they have a successful path to an implementation. And I think there is little some of the people who say they've done apps 100 times. Well, if you've done it once, you've done it more than most everybody. So your insights on this conversation is going to be great. And Guillermo Alvarado, who is our head of solution development and design, has really joined as part of the Oxys team. So Guille, would you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Eduardo. I've been working with Oxys since 2014. I've been back and forth between development and database tasks. So basically, I've been a developer and DBA for most of my life. Around 2017, I joined Eduardo, creating this RPA practice at Oxys. We started playing with this technology a little and discovered the potential that it had. So we developed this team. Right now, I'm in charge of the development team in the company, architecture, and all of that, helping Eduardo to deliver to all our clients. And very happy to be part of this webinar today. Thank you.
Thank you, Guille. Guille really has helped us moved, like I said, across the Hyperautomation platform from Uipath is very extensive. So there's a lot of different technical knowledge that you need to make sure that you have in order to be able to deliver correctly. So Guillermo has been instrumental in making sure that we're able to deliver the promise that we make to our customers. So thanks, Guille, for joining. So let's start with the first topic that we wanted to bring in. So we as Oxys have a understanding what's the typical journey of an organization through hyperautomation, not just where do they start, where do they go next. So in our experience, and I wanted Jose, you after I've gone through this, you can give us your perspective. So most people naturally start in the center, right? You do the robots, we do, then what do they do next? So most of them move onto the pipeline management, so Automation Hub and Task Capture, as they see the need for additional for identifying and managing their pipeline correctly. At the beginning, people start to get excited, but then it's really hard to really manage all the ideas. There's a lot of great ideas. There's a lot of ideas that I think would make sense, but potentially don't have the business case for them. So it's super instrumental for the organizations to understand and how to manage that and be able to respond to the organization accurately and effectively. One of the worst things you want to do is get everybody excited, and then everybody sends their ideas and nothing gets done with them, or they have no visibility of where they went, which naturally what it does is stifle. And we're going to be talking a little bit about that in more detail. Then I think people go into managing performance and understanding, okay, so I'm making a lot of value to the organization. How can I really gather the data, show the data, and get my organization to not only get excited about automation, but also understand the benefit that it's bringing. And then they move on to unstructured automations once it becomes a little bit harder. So there's a lot of other things. Then they move on to apps, assistant, test manager, depending on their needs, and process mining and task mining. But that's what we're seeing. Jose, what are you seeing?
Yeah, I would say that I see a similar progression. I think the challenges, really these tools fix a lot of the challenges that you'll face in your growth and your scaling. I think you mentioned Automation Hub and Task Capture. It's a tool that solves a lot of these issues when people are getting a little bit overwhelmed with the current state of things and how to get to the next level. And it helps you understand the value, like you mentioned, the value that's going to be providing. It's going to be providing when you automate a certain process, maintaining all that information, making sure that all your the people in your organization can contribute to ideas for automating. And everything but below that, it continues on that same path of, okay, now that we're here, what solves the current issue? As you scale, more and more issues arise because of challenges that you might have maintaining your automation program, and a lot of these tools help maintain the program and also get you to that next level.
Awesome, thanks Jose. So now that we understand a little bit of that, let's go down in detail some of this specific topics. So around the managing of the pipeline. So Jose, I know that Automation Hub is great. So would you mind giving us an overview of exactly what it does, what it can do to organizations, and why should companies be thinking about it?
Yeah, Automation Hub is one of my favorite products when I'm, the more that I interact with clients and the more that I see organizations mature and get past this initial phase of, developing 3 automations or developing their first 10 automations. And ultimately, it's a tool that's used to collaborate and making sure and track the different automation ideas that you might have through their life cycle. One of the great tools that I see that's inherent to Automation Hub is how do you grade an idea? How do you determine if an idea is meant to be automated or not, right? A lot of the stuff that in Automation Hub is pretty straightforward. It guides you along the way of understanding how to prioritize your different ideas And it's also customizable because every organization has their own priorities and their own goals. So ultimately, right, some of the base criteria for the prioritization of an automation is how much time is it saving, how much value is it producing. But there could be other criteria specific to your own organization around compliance or around security that might drive the value of an automation. So all those things can be done directly in Automation Hub and maintained there and help an organization, at the leadership level understand, do I have the pipeline for the team that I have? What do I need to do to increase that? What ideas are left over after I've done the big ticket items? That kind of stuff is great. Is a great use for Automation Hub.
Actually, I've found that beyond that, I think Automation Hub has started to being used in organizations beyond automation opportunities. So it's become the centralized place where organizations are managing their initiatives. They're basically customizing the solutions because you can segregate, these are things that should be done with, RPA. These are things that we want to focus on process, optimization. Here's are the things that we want to do that require a, upskilling of people. And they're using Automation Hub as a place to really centralize a lot of the initiatives that the organizations want to go through. So it naturally is becoming a user-friendly way for the organization to crowdsource their ideas for moving the organization forward. I think it's important to understand that there is also a lot of functionalities within Automation Hub that can centralize a lot of the documentation management of your processes and automations. There is requirements that you can basically set up for people to be able to, I guess, bring up new ideas by providing the necessary documentation for experts to really validate and evaluate some of these opportunities. So I think it's one of the key things that people should think about as they're going through their journey. It's not just about getting started, but it's about how do I really scale this? And Automation Hub is one of we think is one of the stepping stones to getting there. So moving on to the next phase, which is measuring performance and benefits. And here's where naturally a lot of organizations have their own way of measuring, and then some of them have a very structured and I would say evolved or advanced business analytics teams, but some of them don't. And this is where I think Uipath Insights comes into play and can provide a lot of benefit to the organization. So how does it work? What are the things that people should be looking at, and what are the kind of things that we think that we can get out of Insights, Jose?
So, like you mentioned, yeah, it's an analytic tool that you can use to monitor the performance of your robots, your automations in general. I think one of the great things about Insights is the fact that it's ingrained already with Uipath, in the sense that your robots are producing logs, and your Insights is building visualizations, providing analytics around these logs, right? So I think one of the biggest benefits is some of the stuff that comes out of the box, right? You already have dashboards or visualizations around overall performance for your RPA program, but also it allows the customization of specific visualizations for a process. And why that's important is, we talked about how Automation Hub is used to determine the value of your automation. Well, that's theoretical at that point. How do we know after the fact what is the value, what is the time that's saving, what is the impact that it's having? Insights is what can prove out that part of the process. So when you're looking back, you're auditing your automation program, or you're determining like what is the current state, Uipath Insights is the best tool for that at the moment. I know that I used to work, I used to have experiences working with other BI tools, trying to make them fit with Uipath, and the biggest benefit that I've seen with Insights in my own personal experience is how seamless that integration is, and how much quicker you can get some output out of Insights compared to other BI tools.
Yeah, I think it's an amazing solution that can really enable organizations that may not have the skill sets that require in order to get this data out of raw databases, and just get you going right away with the necessary visibility. But in order to get there, I just wanted to ask Guille, because I know that we've gone through a lot of our customers, and they've naturally there is a, depending on how you build the solution, you will be able to make these dashboards great or very potentially non-meaningful. So there's a lot that you got to make sure that it happens through the development phase. And I just wanted Guillermo to touch base a little bit on that. How do you maximize the effort when the developer is working on it to making sure that you get the information that you need at the end?
Well, what you're asking is very important, and actually Jose briefly touched about that topic. We're pulling data from the logs. Before Insights, we used to query the tables, move that to a separate database, put dashboards on top of that. But now with Insights, you're looking at the logs themselves. You have access to much more detailed information, useful data points that you can bring to the dashboards. From the development perspective, you need to make sure that the relevant information that you want to query is in the logs, so you can add certain activities to track data that you can pull later into the reports that you're building. And also by default, as also Jose was mentioning, you have dashboards out of the box, but you have access to also other key elements like queue items and other information that you can bring together, combine, and add even more value to the reports that you're creating. So it's amazing what you can achieve with Insights with very little effort, instead of going back to the old model where you need to build everything from the bottom, start adding visualizations, all of that. You have a simple place where you can easily put all the pieces together.
Yeah, and I think that having the end goal in mind as you're starting your automation of a specific automation, saying, hey, we're going to be automating somewhere within the insurance verification, let's say for healthcare, and you want to understand what is the success rate between payers, what is the success rate between types of orders, the types of claims, things of that nature. You want to make sure that you understand what are those things that you would like to measure once the automation is in play, so that you can build customized dashboards for your team members, not just to enjoy the automation, but also now be able to see what are the things that are happening within their workspace in a digital, faster way, and make decisions around, if I'm always having issues with United Healthcare on this specific type of transaction, then they need to go in and understand that, and it provides business insights beyond the savings that you're getting, which is a massive, massive change in mindset. But in order to do that, you want to make sure that you have that goal in mind before you even begin to go through the automation. And that's where having a structured framework and solutions architecture layer that enables you to get those done, it's key as you're starting any automation. Go ahead, Jose.
Yeah, one more thing that I wanted to add, and you bring up a good point about when should you worry about insights, or when should you start thinking about insights, right? In terms of as a product, it's probably something that you want to make sure, like we said, you make sure that you understand how to bring robots to production first. But later, when you're trying to get these analytics, it's really something that you should be doing, thinking about at the beginning of your implementation, right? Internally, when we think about doing insights implementations in our professional services engagements, we say, we're going to be doing a reports-driven implementation. And when we're gathering requirements, we are gathering, what do you want these reports to look like? Because ultimately, if this is the most real-time data that you're getting, then this is going to be the biggest impact report you can have for your automation. So thinking and getting from your business unit or whoever your stakeholders are, getting those requirements from them is important to do early on, because it'll impact how we potentially build a solution, how we log inside of the automation, and ultimately how the data looks in Insights at the end.
Awesome. So moving on to, I think, the next topic, which I think is a major conversational topic across intelligent automation. There is more intelligent data processing engines out there, then yeah, it's kind of very overwhelming for organizations to go through that landscape. There's a lot of competition in this space because there's too much need for building automations that are not working with only structured data. There's so much you can do. There's a lot of use cases that you can do with structured data, but then how do you tackle the next wave? And this is where document understanding from UiPath can really bring in a lot of value with a combination of Action Center. So Jose, when you're thinking about building automations with document understanding for your customers, what are some of the things that you're looking for, or like explaining to them how the process is going to look like? Because for a lot of organizations, they're saying, okay, I'm going to extract this, and then they don't really, like day-to-day real life, they don't know how this is really going to work. So let's talk about how to do it right. What's the framework to go through, and some of the challenges that we're seeing.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges that we see currently is expectations. I think because the automation up until this point, in the way that we were describing it in this webinar, you're doing very structured, very sequential processes most of the time, where you have a very rigid structure and you understand how to handle exceptions and how to ultimately automate 100% of the process most of the time. When you think about document understanding and processing some of this unstructured data, you have to get accustomed to a certain level of accuracy, a certain level of success that's going to be lower than 100. And the impact of that is still great depending on the use case, but becoming accustomed to understanding that is really the biggest, I think, barrier right now for people to automate here. Because at the end of the day, when you go through this framework, right, you're determining the information that you want to take out with your taxonomy. You're digitizing documents with an OCR, optical character recognition engine. You're classifying the document to understand which type of scenario you're currently under, or you're extracting the data ultimately. All that has some level of accuracy through each step. And ultimately, whether you're processing receipts or whether you're processing invoices, most of the time, you're not going to be able to process 100% of those documents. But making sure that you're understanding that, you're communicating that to the stakeholders in your organization, and everybody's on board for that, this could have a really huge impact, because ultimately, a lot of manual processing is still happening around this kind of use case. And if it can be automated, whether it's 80% or 70%, that's still going to have a huge impact on the bottom line of that organization.
Thanks, Jose. Guillo, what are you seeing? Because I agree. I think expectations is a major key, but understanding that the value comes from the 70-80% of what it can manage, I think is where organizations should be focusing on. But then, what do you do with the extra 30%? And this is where I think I just wanted to get Guillermo's input on how are we bringing this solution to real life with organizations.
Yeah, I want to highlight that that 30% that we're not covering with document understanding, many cases is because the documents we're getting, they do not have the necessary quality, or there might be some variations that we cannot develop for every single option that is out there. So there's always some documents that we need someone to take a look. Basically, as we have, for example, the classification section where we check if this is a known document or not. Sometimes we get from the providers or someone else documents that we don't know how to deal with. Or in other cases, the quality of the document doesn't allow us to do a full extraction. That's where we integrate this with long-running workflows and Action Center. We can bring the document to a human. This person can take a look at the document, confirm if the classification was adequate or not. If there is any value where we have trouble validating or pulling, the tool is not sure if the value that is pulling is correct, or even if it doesn't comply with our criteria to consider something as successful or not. That's where we combine with Action Center. We as you were displaying here, we show the document to the user. The person can go field by field, confirming what's the actual value. That technology is going to be learning from the decisions that users are making, getting better over time. And we don't need to stop the process with a long-running approach. We basically put on hold that specific transaction. We continue processing everything else. And whenever the user says that, okay, this looks correct, let's move forward, then we resume the process for that specific invoice or receipt or any kind of document that we're processing.
So that is one great comment, because I think it's been the historic inclination of almost every single organization to think everything or nothing. We either automate everything or we don't automate at all. And this is where Action Center has really come into play, that this is not a document understanding specific solution. This is just a validation station that can be enabled in any automation to require some level of human in the loop, human input or intervention through the automation. In the past, as the technology was not really, I guess, evolved as the way it is today, there was a major issue, which Guillermo, I think, alluded to, which is that the robot would basically pop up a screen or a form for somebody to provide that input, but then be waiting. So you would be losing computing power, you would be losing automation capacity by having the robot waiting for a human to provide that input. And with Action Center, we can basically queue the items that require a response from the team members, and then the robot can go and be able to basically be doing anything else. Then we receive the action, and now you're able to bring it back to a queue for a robot to continue processing. And I think that on its own is what is really expanding the use cases across automation in this space. Also, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think we started this webinar with saying everybody loves unattended, right? And I think even in the example you gave, right, previously to Action Center, the solution was, if you wanted a human in the loop, that had to be an attended use case because there was no other way to do it. You could probably build something custom to make it unattended, but it would be something that would be more complex than really required. And I think the real great thing about Action Center now is you have a built-in product that allows your automation to remain unattended, but still include that human in the loop situation. And I can give you a perfect example. I was working with a client on a use case that was generating a report around sales. And we, this specific organization was getting sales from different stores. And this was all unattended. But and everybody has run into the scenario before where you get into a certain point and there's exceptions. And now when you ask your subject matter expert, they say, well, I have to reach out to this store, and depending on their answer, I might have to go search for information here. That use case in the past, we would have just said, well, I guess we'll leave it at that point and that's it. Because of Action Center, we were able to automate the process end to end while allowing that human validation to still happen in between. So this is a great and powerful tool to reach those use cases that before you might have thought were too complex, or you might have discarded altogether because you didn't see the value with the amount of complexity that the automation was going to take.
Thanks, Jose. That's great input. So with that being said, we wanted to understand how organizations are leveraging document understanding or other intelligent document processing tools. So if we just wanted to throw out the second polling question.
I was going to share the results of the first question just really quick.
Go ahead.
So the one that had the highest adoption is Automation Hub and Task Capture as expected with 82%, followed by Document Understanding and AI Center by 64%, followed by 45% Insights, and 27% both Test Suite and Process Mining. What is interesting is that the way that we asked the question, we said, are you already doing it or evaluating it? So out of this percentage, we don't know really how many are evaluating versus doing it, but it really shows that, a big percentage are actively looking into all of these capabilities.
Awesome, thanks, Fabi. So now we really wanted to understand specifically document understanding because it's one of the key additional technologies to capture unstructured data. So we wanted to see if you guys are doing it and then get a sense of also if you've done it successfully, if you've tried it but unsuccessfully yet, if you're piloting or planning on piloting, not at this stage, or if you're using another technology to do unstructured data processing.
Maybe Eddie, while we share this, I think it would be interesting. You know, we are probably working with clients that are doing document understanding that have already tested other intelligent data capture tools in the past. What are you guys hearing in terms of how document understanding is different or better? Because a lot of, there's a lot of tools out there for the same purpose, and I think people are still como que confused about the advantages of this one.
Yeah, so I can take my first point of view, and then Jose and Guille can chime in. So my what I've seen is that there's a natural advantage of using document understanding from other tools from the integration standpoint to automation. It's not just an extraction tool. So if you look at Abby or some of the other solutions out there, they're more focused on pure extraction and management of documents, where document understanding, it's a simple drag and drop activities package from your automations that can really enable the combination of like very seamless hand holding between extraction and the automations in place. So that is a major differentiator. I know that there may be other technical ones that you guys may want to bring up, Jose and Guille, but I think that's one of the key things that I'm seeing. It's the simplicity of being able to work with documents and automations hand by hand.
Yeah, the one thing, I'll continue on to what you said in terms of the integration. We were speaking before the webinar that I led a training last week. It was specifically around document understanding, and it's something that within 2 days we were able to deploy a machine learning model. We were able to extract information from receipts competently and consistently, and just the thought that you can do that in 2 days with people who are inexperienced in the tool, to me, is incredible. It speaks to that integration benefit, right? Everything is available directly from your automation suite or whatever your implementation is. You're going to have it all there. It's already integrated with your Uipath RPA, like core RPA products. And then when you talk about the technical aspects, I think the benefit is a little bit also about how plug and play it is, right? You can use document understanding, and if you for any reason already have some other type of optical character recognition engine or some other or another machine learning model that has already been created outside of this space, you can plug those things into the Uipath document understanding product and work seamlessly with those things, whether it's like you mentioned Abby as a technology, or Google or Microsoft. If you have some sort of OCR that you're already working with, that can be integrated with document understanding as well.
Yeah, also would like to add, getting back to the fact that with document understanding, we can provide continuity to the same process. We don't need to send the document to another tool, then we lose complete visibility on what's going on in the other side, and then we need to pull back the document to continue processing. Basically, in the past, we used to create multiple RPA solutions to deal before and after the document, and we had no idea what was going on, if the document got stuck, if someone was reviewing or not, anything. Now with document understanding, we have much more control on what's going on with each document, and it's easier for the user. They're getting familiar with the same interface or single tool, getting inside Uipath everything. So I think it's much easier for everybody.
Great. And Eddie, before you move to the next session, basically the responses were as follows: 25% have successfully implemented document understanding, 25% unsuccessfully, 38% have not done it, and 13% are planning on piloting.
Awesome. So yeah, and I think this unsuccessfully would be really interesting for us to dig a little bit deeper onto some of the reasons. And I think if they are around expectations, if they're around quality, if they're around the perceived ability of the machine learning models to do the work, or just the framework or strategy that was employed to getting it deployed. I think all those things fall into place. One of the key things that I've seen when we're talking about unsuccessful implementations of document understanding on any other OCR product is the validation piece or the classification of documents. There's a major process that needs to be done prior to doing that, of making sure that we all know that you can control what you can control. And there is always going to be a business exception when documents are sent to different queues that are not meant to go there. And how do you control that, and how do you manage that, and how do you classify those documents, and then getting to the nitty-gritty of all the different scenarios that can happen. As an example, to go down the invoice processing space, we all know that there's always exceptions, and in some cases, the non-exceptions is the exception. so getting to that level of what do you want to get to, I think is one of the big pieces of identifying and clarifying your document understanding program. Okay, so let's move on to the next topic. So there is also this next wave, and I think less people, like we said on the on the polling questions at the beginning, less people have gone down this path of really now trying to get automations in the hands of day-to-day people, not having to do unattended or having people really go through the process of having to use a system to click their own automations, but really bringing solutions for team members that they can be enabling automations even without knowing it. And this is where I think we wanted to make a stop and talk about some of the most innovative things that are happening in UiPath with UiPath apps, and for Jose to give us some of his stories on what we've been able to do with this solution, and when should organizations think about using it.
Thank you, Eddie. Yeah, I think it's a great new tool that we've had in the, it's still an emerging product, I think, and there is kind of very specific use cases where something like this is beneficial. So I think recognizing when those exist and seeing like when you have that opportunity to benefit from UiPath apps is great. Some of from my own experience, a lot of the use cases where this has been successfully deployed is something that has a very, very large volume, right? A very large volume, I mean, of work and also of people interacting with it. If you imagine that you have a lot of work done by one person, that's probably something that can be done in an unattended fashion, or maybe in a more traditional human in the loop scenario. But what this allows you to do is, build out an application that's more robust, that's more user-friendly for somebody to work in, a quote-unquote attended fashion with an application instead of a robot interacting with their own machine directly. So whether that's in a contact center, right, where you have a situation where you have a person that's answering the phone for customer support, and they have to interact with a bunch of different applications to get the job done for their customer. Something like that would be very beneficial to use UiPath apps for, because you potentially have hundreds of customer support reps that need to perform this activity. And what's a better alternative than this for something that's very user-friendly and customizable to what the specific use case requires?
Yeah, and I think the ability, so just think about a contact center agent that not only needs to manage the calling system, but they also need to go into their back-end systems to identify and verify a person that the caller is who they say they are. Then they need to go and think of a bank, going and looking at their transactions, going and looking at, where are they on their car loans, what type of products do they have. All those things may be in different systems. So you have an agent that is just walking through all those things, and comes along UiPath apps, and then you can very easily just basically show all this data and just have on the background robots and integrations just extracting this information and showing it to the agent, and reducing the time that is spent on your calling time. So I think that's it's very interesting where this can go. I think this is very advanced on this space, but I think it is critical for people to be thinking, hey, this can be a major solution that I can use for some use cases. So let's look at next polling question. Now that we've gone through this, and there's a lot of other other parts of the platform that there is no way that we can go through in 1 hour. We've done a specific webinar around UiPath Test Suite. If you're interested in that, you can definitely go to our website and see the recap on that. But we wanted to understand, if you're feeling that you're not moving fast enough through all of these technologies, what is preventing you from doing so? You may not be. Then that's why you have the answer number 5. But is it lack of talent? Is it, is not a priority right now? You guys have more than enough with the solutions that you are using today. Are you guys maybe thinking, hey, some of these things really don't have a use case within an organization, or we're covering these needs with other softwares outside of UiPath in order to get it done. So wanted to get your feedback on that. Let's just give it 1 minute, and knowing that we have one more topic to go through.
I have 20% of the votes. I'm waiting for some more to come. What is your next topic, Eddie?
So let's move along on to, now that we know a little bit about the products and we understand where the platform is going, there is one critical piece that I wanted to bring out today, and is the deployment methodology. So all these products today I think in the past could be deployed either as individual products on Windows servers. You could use the UiPath Cloud as a SaaS server for this, but now we have this newer offering called UiPath Automation Suite. And I just wanted to touch a little bit on it so that people could understand the amazing new opportunities that they can have of migrating to this solution, because this can really change the way your organization is managing the infrastructure, is managing your functionalities, is managing upgrades. The availability of the solutions becomes very different. The user interface becomes very different. So I just wanted to touch base, because a lot of organizations just begin in one way and they could potentially be thinking about moving into a different direction. So Jose, can you explain to us a little bit of how things have been laid out for UiPath around their deployment methodology?
Definitely. So in the past, we had individual products that could be installed on, whatever the infrastructure was at a specific organization, or the UiPath cloud. Of course, there are many reasons why a client might be restricted from using UiPath, the automation cloud, which ultimately is the most, the easiest to use. And those could be compliance reasons, security reasons, specific laws or requirements that forced you to use individual products. The amount of effort and support required for that internally was just, comparative to the automation cloud, was massive. So what is Automation Suite now? So that is basically a cloud solution internally to your organization. What that allows is to have a single installation that connects all your UiPath products at the same time. Of course, we are talking about everything besides individual robots, which ultimately are the executors of your automations, and your UiPath studios, which is where the automations are developed, right? So this is a great way of reducing the footprint in your internal infrastructure, and the amount of maintenance that is required for that. Think about individual products and what it would take to upgrade them to the next version, right? You would have to go through Orchestrator, Action Center, Document Understanding, AI Center. And now you can do all that within Automation Suite and provide a more typical SaaS solution, but internally to your organization. And when we talk about the benefits of using that, it's not just about the product, the benefit to your infrastructure team or whoever would be managing that, but some of the products that are available, right? I've worked at organizations that had an internal deployment of most of their UiPath products, but they wanted to use Automation Hub, so they had to use our cloud for the Automation Hub. But that restricted what they could do with Automation Hub. So that's a great example of a product that now is available through Automation Suite. And you can see here in this list that there are several products that aren't available with individual product deployments that are now available through Automation Suite.
Yeah, and I think understanding, for the teams who are on the call who are currently managing on-premise deployments, difficulty of just doing upgrades all the time, or just the user friendliness of not having to log in and log out into different places to go and consume some of these different products could be a major, it's a game changer. Being able to have everything in the same, it's just in this, it's just everything is in the same place. Everything integrated and being able to deploy this with a single install, with a single upgrade, and now being hosted in Linux environments with a much lower cost of ownership overall to me is one of the key things that organizations who were worried about security on the UiPath cloud should immediately be thinking about migrating into. So with this, I know we only have 7 minutes left, and we could be talking about this for a while. I just wanted to understand what type of automation deployment or the deployment methodology that you guys were using for your platform. So I just wanted to ask polling question number 4 really quickly to get a sense if people are using still on-premise, cloud, or automation suite. So we're going to be doing 2 back-to-back questions. One is going to be specific to what you guys are using today, and the second, once Fabi closes, the question was going to be, are you guys planning on migrating onto some of this, from on-premise to the cloud, from on-premise to automation suite? Are you guys planning?
So right now, Eddie, 43%, around 40% are on-prem, 25% automation cloud, 25% have not started, and around 10 to 13% automation suite. The results keep changing because we keep getting more votes.
Awesome.
Well, actually, it's interesting now.
One thing I'll add about some of the benefits of automation suite is specifically, we're talking about hyperautomation, how to take your program to the next level. The larger that your organization gets, the larger that your portfolio of automations gets, the harder it's going to be to do an upgrade just like that. So minimizing that impact with using automation suite, I think, is essential for somebody who's looking to continue their growth and to continue to keep the overhead costs down for their automation program.
Thanks, Jose. I think that is extremely valuable. I know it's fairly new, and we just got to do a great effort of making sure that people know how this pain point has really been solved by this new solution. So before we close it out, and wanted to thank everybody for joining, we just wanted to touch base on key lessons learned on what we're seeing as organizations are going through that. And to me, one of the major things that we've learned internally, naturally, I run a professional services practice, and there is too much for just one person to understand and be experts at. There's not one person that can be experts at everything that you just saw today. I would say it was an impossible ask for how to just have so you have a team of 2 developers and for them to be experts at everything. And that's one of the key things that we are seeing internally. We have had the need to really specialize some of our team members in different areas, some in document understanding, test suite, infrastructure, in order to really be successful and be able to drive solutions to our customers. What do you guys think, Jose, and as part of your professional services team?
Yeah, I would agree. I think that we made the change recently, or not recently, maybe around a year ago, to more functional teams, because the breadth of UiPath products is so large now. It's a good thing, but at the same time, it creates a problem for us in the professional services environment, where you can't just expect somebody to go in and be able to solve everything. So now we have more targeted, specialized individuals who are subject matter experts in different technologies or different types of use cases, and that has helped alleviate a lot of that pain point and allowed us to focus those people on the use cases that they're great at.
Thanks, Jose. And Guille, I know that really the burden of delivering all of this falls onto your shoulders. But I wanted to see, is there anything that you would recommend, organizations out there that are looking to go beyond their current journeys, how to get the skill sets, how to manage some of that upskilling and also finding the right talent?
So first of all, of course, the Academy is an excellent resource to learn about new technologies. They have a specific training for each one of the technologies that we're seeing here. Also, if you already completed some of the previous training, they're always once a year or maybe twice a year, they create new content to get you up to speed with what's new. So you can easily change what are the new features, what are the new technologies that they are releasing. Now, if your company wants to start playing with these new tools, they want to get your hands on document understanding or even AI Center or test manager, all of that, you always have the option to go to the cloud offering, play a little, and if you think that's a good option for you, then bring it to your licenses agreements and start implementing that in organization. Obviously, as you were mentioning, not everybody can be an expert in every single tool or technique, so it's important to understand where your strongest areas and maybe try to get specialized in some of the technologies and try to bring as much value as you can to your existing processes.
Thanks, Guille. And I've also seen, that I think that should be the end goal in some cases. If you're having your COE, you're thinking about really investing in document understanding to get some of those skill sets, while, as you're going through that. I would say that in what we're seeing from a lot of our newest clients on the past 12 months is that organizations that have had, long, I think, and very successful automation journeys are looking for partners that can bring in this specific technology experience just to get it off the ground, make sure that they're successful as they're deploying this additional products onto their COEs, and making sure that they're putting their best foot forward as they're starting their journeys outside of unintended solutions. And it's interesting how we're now, instead of being called for, hey, I just want to be part of I want to outsource all my automation COE, they're looking for specific skill sets for the same reasons. They're saying, hey, I'm looking to do this project and document understanding. I'm looking to do this specific on-task suite. I want to change, this migration to the cloud. I want to do this migration to automation suite. And they're looking for those specific skill sets that they may need temporarily, but not day in and day out. So that's another thing that we're looking. So thank you guys so much for being part of this today. I know we've gone to the top of the hour. Fabi, do you want to do any closing remarks?
Yeah, so if you go to the next slide, Eddie, there's a lot of the questions were really related to sharing the deck and the recording afterwards. So, if you guys are interested, let us know via email and we'll be happy to share a copy with you. Also, these are the topics that we covered in prior sessions that are very related to what we covered today. So you're going to see that we had a session on citizen development, test automation, RPA maintenance and support. So definitely we encourage you that if you didn't participate, to watch some of these on demand. And then we just wanted to let you know, since a lot of you are already a UiPath customer or evaluating the tool, I'm guessing that you guys have heard about the Uipath Automation Conference that happens every year in Vegas. So basically that conference is going to be taking place from September 27 to 29. And this is a great opportunity to network with companies at all levels of maturity in their journey. Oxys is going to be there as a sponsor, and we have some discounted codes available, as well as potentially some complimentary tickets. So definitely, if you're interested in attending, reach out to us and we will give you more details. And yeah, I think we're on the top of the hour, and thank you so much, Jose, Guille, and Eddie, for all your insights. I know there was a lot of information, but I think it's really important for everyone that joined. So we'll be in touch and hope to see you guys in Vegas.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.